You've probably bought things on the giant Amazon online store, but if you look at the map of South America, at the north is another huge Amazon spanning 9 countries. Colombia takes 10% of the Amazon forest, while Peru accounts for 13%. However, look at Brazil and you will see it hosts the lion's share of the Amazon with 60%. Altogether, the Amazon covers a whopping landmass that can fit in the whole European Union with room to spare, or double the size of Argentina. The Amazon is, however, more interesting than for just its size. It has been the site of many amazing discoveries, but there is no end to them as there is still so much left to explore. In this video, we bring you scientists' terrifying new discoveries in the Amazon forest that change everything. You might not realize it, but the Amazon forest is so huge that it affects you anywhere you are on the planet. The rainforest spans 6.7 million square kilometers, about twice the size of the landmass of India. That is about 526 million hectares of primary forest, larger than the 2 next largest rainforests in the Congo Basin and Indonesia put together. However, not only does the Amazon contain the single largest remaining tropical rainforest in the world, but it also accounts for at least 10% of the world's known biodiversity, including endemic and endangered flora and fauna. Its river alone is responsible for about 16% of the world's total river discharge into the oceans. The mighty Amazon River flows more than 6,600 kilometers, and with its hundreds of tributaries and streams contains the largest number of freshwater fish species in the world. The Amazon is impressive for its animal life too. The forest contains an uncountable number of animals, including mammals, birds, amphibians, and reptiles. People live in the Amazon too, and they number about 30 million, distributed in 9 different countries. About 9% of the population is made up of indigenous people organized into roughly 350 groups. More than 60 of these groups are isolated from the rest of the world. No matter where you live on this planet, the effects of the Amazon rainforest reach you. For instance, the Amazon's trees contribute to regulating global temperature and humidity, intricately linking it to regional climate patterns through hydrological cycles that depend on the forests. Because of the massive amount of carbon stored in the forests of the Amazon, the forest can potentially change the global climate if not carefully handled. The Amazon houses 90 to 140 billion metric tons of carbon, and if this massive amount of gas is released into the atmosphere, it will accelerate global warming significantly. The thought of that alone is scary. Currently, land conversion and deforestation in the Amazon releases up to 0.5 billion metric tons of carbon per year, not including emissions from forest fires, thus rendering the Amazon an important factor in regulating the global climate. Did you know that in times past, the Amazon River used to flow in the opposite direction? Millions of years ago, the Amazon River moved from east to west and emptied into the Pacific Ocean. However, when the Andes Mountains began to rise because of great pressure bearing on the tectonic plates along the eastern side of the South American continent about 20 million years ago, the resulting mass protrusion blocked the free flow of the Amazon River. This blockade caused freshwater lakes to form, and the flow of the river gradually reversed to its current eastern course. About 10 million years ago, the river reached the Atlantic Ocean close to the city of Belém in Brazil. The Amazon is known for yearly torrential rainfall amounting to between 1,500 millimeters and 3,000 millimeters. Where does the forest get all the water from? About half of the rainfall comes from the eastern trade winds blowing from the Atlantic Ocean. The other half comes from evapotranspiration, a process in which soil loses water through evaporation and transpiration by plants. So basically, if there is a disruption in the evapotranspiration in the Amazon forest, it will impact the local climate and the climate of the rest of the world. This is why what happens in the Amazon is of interest to countries outside the 9 hosting the forest. Interestingly, the Amazon does not get the same amount of rainfall in all its parts, even at the center of the forest. For example, the Peruvian city of Iquitos, located along the Amazon River, gets an average of 2,623 millimeters of rain annually. In contrast, Manaus gets only 1,771 and has a long dry season. The first discovery is literally hot. It is a river that kills every organism that falls inside. At the hottest point, the temperature can reach more than 93 degrees Celsius, so when you are near it, you have to watch your steps closely to avoid ending up inside the scalding hot water. According to local law, this river, known as Shanay Timpishka and found on the Peru side of the forest, starts from a boulder that appears in the form of a serpent. The indigenous tribes believe this snake spirit, known as Yakumama or Mother of the Waters, is responsible for the high temperature of the river. The river is about 5.5 miles long, but only the last 4 miles are very hot. It's as wide as your regular 2-lane road and is about 80 feet wide at the widest point. The deepest point reaches 16 feet. Locals have known about the boiling river for a long time, but scientists relatively recently started trying to solve the mystery of what is responsible for the elevated temperature. While there are many theories, there has not been a satisfactory answer to why the river boils. One other fascinating discovery the scientists made was the geoglyphs or earthworks. Using satellites, they were able to identify these elaborate features. A geoglyph is a work of art created by arranging or moving objects within a landscape. These objects are usually stones or earth. In creating this art form, the artist or group of artists arrange objects to create the art or remove objects in a structured pattern to develop lines or spaces that contrast with the surrounding terrain to form the artwork. According to National Geographic, these geoglyphs, located in Brazil's Mato Grosso state, were likely used for ceremonial purposes, but their purposes have never been confirmed. Using satellite imagery, the team of researchers plotted coordinates and then traveled to investigate 24 objects they believed were likely geoglyphs, and all 24 turned out to be exactly that. In all, the researchers found 81 geoglyphs as part of their study, and they estimate about 1,300 of the structures dot the southern Amazonia region. The study also found that causeways connected as many as 1,500 villages in an elaborate system that dates back to 1250. The earthworks found so far in the southern rim of Amazonia are typically far apart from each other. However, this region was occupied by people who shared common lifestyles, suggesting the earthworks might have formed a chain about 1,100 miles or 1,800 kilometers long. Scientists believe the geoglyphs were constructed during periods of drought when it was easier to clear the land. Now, the next discovery can be extremely scary, especially if you have a fear of spiders. Scientists have discovered many strange creatures in the Amazon, but one of those topping the list is the Goliath bird-eater spider. Just the name alone is enough to know how terrifying this spider is. It's large enough to trap and eat birds. This spider is the largest tarantula in the world, growing up to 13 centimeters. In the world of spiders, that is the elephant. The Goliath bird-eater weighs up to 6 ounces and has a leg span almost reaching a foot. The way it eats is scary. Any animal from insects to frogs and rodents can become a meal. However, this spider cannot eat solid materials, so after trapping its prey, it pumps neurotoxins into the animal through its inches-long fangs, acting like hypodermic needles. The digestion process begins even before the animal dies, and the innards are liquefied, which the spider then sucks up. Despite being bedeviled with poor eyesight, the spider is well equipped to defend itself. It has prickly hairs on its legs that are sensitive to vibrations and warns it of any approaching danger. If any animal gets too close for comfort, the Goliath bird-eater will rub its legs together and shoot some of its hairs into the air. These hairs are equipped with stinging barbs, and any animal that gets some in its eyes or skin will regret it for a while. This spider luckily is not deadly to humans, but you still want to give it a wide berth because the hairs can irritate your skin. Thanks to the huge biodiversity, the Amazon has been the source of some of the most important substances, medicines. In fact, the list of medicines originating in the Amazon is long and growing. Here are some plants located in the rainforest that have yielded life-saving medicines. Maranhama jabarandi is a shrub used to treat glaucoma thanks to an alkaloid in its leaves called pilocarpine. The alkaloid stimulates the secretions of the respiratory tract, the salivary, lacrimal, gastric, and other glands, weakens the heart action, and accelerates the pulse rate, according to a paper put out by researchers at Purdue University. It works for the eyes too, as it can relieve pressure in the organ. There is also the ipecac or Psychotria ipecacuana. This is another shrub that produces an emetic compound in its roots. Emetic means it induces vomit. This shrub has been employed in treating gastrointestinal diseases, diarrhea, and intermittent fevers. It also serves as an expectorant in bronchitis, bronchopneumonia, asthma, and mumps. And on this list is cocoa, which is believed to have originated from the Amazon rainforest. You may wonder if cocoa is really a medicinal drug since it's been used as food for thousands of years. However, the plant can lower your risk of heart disease, improve cognitive function, and make you happier, which is what drugs do. In fact, more than 25% of modern pharmaceuticals contain Amazonian ingredients, yet only 1% of plant species have been tested for medicinal properties. With that in mind, it's not unreasonable to think the cure for cancer is hiding in there somewhere in the Amazon. You know about trees, but if you need trees that walk, the Amazon forest has some for you. Yes, you heard that right. The Amazon forest contains trees that can walk. Like the Ents from J.R.R. Tolkien's epic Lord of the Rings saga, these trees actually move across the forest as the growth of new roots gradually relocates them, sometimes 2 or 3 centimeters per day. Peter Rosansky, a paleobiologist, explains the walking tree phenomenon. He said as the soil erodes, the trees grow new long roots that find new and more solid ground, sometimes up to 20 meters. Then, slowly as the roots settle in the new soil and the tree bends patiently toward the new roots, the old roots slowly lift into the air. The whole process for the tree to relocate to a new place with better sunlight and more solid ground can take a couple of years. So just how far can these trees march in a year? While not fast enough to escape the chainsaw of a tree feller, these agile trees can cover as much as 20 meters in a year. This means if you leave a tree at a spot and return a year later, your tree would likely have disappeared 20 meters down the road. Meanwhile, it was once believed that the Amazon was a near uninhabited rainforest before the Europeans arrived, but a new discovery has shown otherwise. Researchers have found evidence that the Amazon was a hive of activity and home to millions of people. The new study revealed details of 81 sites in the previously uncharted territory of the Amazon's Upper Tapajós Basin, with settlements ranging from small villages just 30 meters wide to a really large site covering 19 hectares. The discoveries are helping to reconstruct what the Amazon would have been like before Europeans arrived. The sites were first discovered by satellite imagery of the area revealed by deforestation. The team deduced the existence of human activity in the form of earthworks. These include ditches surrounding the sites that served as a fortification, sunken roads and earth platforms that would have served as foundations for houses. The researchers checked 24 of the locations by going there physically, so they could test everything they identified on satellite imagery on the archaeological sites. They saw fragments of ceramics, polished stone axes, and a type of fertile dark earth that pointed at long-term human habitation. They also dated the wood charcoal associated with the ceramic fragments from one site using carbon dating to between 1410 and 1460 AD, which corresponds with the dates of many of the sites previously discovered in the southern rim of the Amazon that showed a peak of activity between 1250 and 1500. Models based on the research suggest that at the time, the southern rim of the Amazon alone could have been home to between 500,000 and 1 million people. But then the Europeans arrived and the interaction quickly took its toll. The diseases obviously traveled much faster than people, and probably the population was already weakened by diseases brought by Europeans even before the Europeans set foot in the area. Diseases and genocide wiped out entire villages, and many others abandoned agriculture altogether. They had to be constantly moving, but the traces they left behind mean there is still more to learn about their now vanished civilization. There is evidence that this lost population consisted of different cultures living together at the same time. In each one of the regions of the southern Amazon, researchers found a different local expression of architectural traditions, so there were different kinds of site layouts and artifacts found in each region. Further discoveries are likely because models suggest earthworks might be found over a 400,000 square kilometer area with more than 1,300 sites, more than 60% of which have yet to be found. Next, we bring you a tourist attraction in the Amazon rainforest. However, instead of attracting humans, this spot attracts macaws with their brightly colored plumage. What exactly are these birds looking for at this spot in the rainforest? The macaws fly in to actually lick clay. At any time of the day, hundreds of parrots and macaws of up to 15 species congregate daily to ingest the detoxifying clay, which is located less than 500 meters from Tambo Parta Research Center. Clay licks, called kolpas in the Quechua language, are made up of high-concentration deposits of minerals that are scarce in the rainforest. For macaws, they come in the form of riverbank clay deposits. Mammals do flock around exposed soil in the ground, and monkeys have been known to lick tree trunks with sediments, and butterflies flutter about the beaches where nutrient-rich liquids have evaporated. But for these macaws, clay licks is how they get their own high. What is the benefit of this clay licking exercise to the macaws? It is thought that parrots ingest the clay to dull or cancel the effects of toxic fruits and seeds that they consume naturally. However, some scientists have theorized that the macaws also socialize and pass around info as they flock around and lick the clay lick. Licking the clay exposes these birds to danger because they have to be at ground level and do so during the day, but apparently the clay diet is so important that they bear the risks. Scientists have observed at least half a dozen species of macaws feasting on clay in the Amazon rainforest. Recall the Amazon River is 6,600 kilometers long. That is no small distance, but there is a man who has swam the whole length. It is 68-year-old Slovenia Martin Strel who accomplished the feat in 2007. That was roughly the distance between New York and the southern tip of the United Kingdom. Of course, the achievement earned him a Guinness World Record for the longest open water swim, which has not been broken till today. Strel does not even look like pro swimmers like Phelps or Lochte. He weighs 110 kilograms and enjoys almost a bottle of wine every day. During his treacherous swims, Strel encountered piranhas, bull sharks, and parasites and suffered from dengue fever and severe sunburn. In his last few weeks, he was under threat from pirates and had to keep a security crew around him at all times. His most frightening moment, however, was when his son, aged 26 at the time, joining him for part of the swim, was temporarily paralyzed after being stung by a stingray. The son did make a full recovery, though. Strel has a thing for swimming long rivers. He has swum at the 1,866 miles of the Doub River in 58 days. He also completed the Mississippi. To cover the Amazon, Strel swam for 66 days, 12 hours a day. But what if you want to swim long rivers like Strel? What is the secret to his success in the water? Food is at the top of the list for Strel. He said he burned between 10,000 and 12,000 calories, which had to be replaced. Strel's diet consists of soup, vegetables, and fish, which he eats 3 times a day. You may also try drinking Slovenian red wine twice a day. Swimming all day like Strel will make your neck and shoulders in a lot of pain. Strel recommends forgetting the discomfort by concentrating 100% on something you love. Focus on happy memories. It's a good endurance strategy whether you're biking, running, or rowing. You should also swim efficiently instead of just splashing about in the water. Try to swim as quietly as possible. Imagine you are piercing through the water and slipping through a small hole. What about when you are surrounded by dangerous creatures? Strel recommends that you pretend to be one of them. This applies to crocodiles, snakes, bull sharks, kangaroos, and so forth. And lastly, don't forget to enjoy the water. Strel said you should take a break from focusing on your task and destination and simply soak in the pleasure of being in the water. To what extent will you go to protect yourself? Will you make a giant version of yourself to trick a potential attacker into believing you have a giant bodyguard keeping a watch over you? If you answer yes, this is exactly what a smart spider that lives in the Amazon rainforest will do. Discovered at the Tambopata Research Center in the Peruvian Amazon, a spider that is a member of the genus Cyclosa creates elaborate, fake spider decoys. It hangs them in its own web and shakes the web to create the illusion of a giant prowling spider. What's even more interesting is that this con spider is believed to be a new species. However, it uses mostly materials it can easily find to create its decoys, and these include leaves, debris, and dead insects. There are other spiders in the genus Cyclosa that sculpt, but this is the first that has ever been seen to build a replica with multiple legs and to employ a web-shaking behavior. The fake spiders serve as decoys as part of a defense mechanism meant to confuse or distract predators. Searching within 1 square mile of the area the first fake spider was found, researchers discovered more of these spider-building spiders. They could be locally restricted, but there could also be millions of these spiders in the rainforest. It appeared some spiders were more talented than the rest or simply had an eye for details because some of the decoys looked realistic, while others appeared more amateurish. Other spiders of the genus Cyclosa build clumpy decoys made out of multiple little balls created from egg sacs, debris, and prey rather than something that actually looks like another spider. What do the Amazon forest and the Sahara Desert have in common? The two are located on different continents and cannot look more differently. The latter contains lots of white sand, while the former contains lush greenery. Yet the Amazon forest actually depends on the Sahara Desert for nutrients. The nutrient is exchanged between the two locations through the dust that covers the distance between them. The dust is carried by winds from the desert all the way to South America, where they help the plants to grow. A NASA satellite has shown in 3 dimensions how much dust makes this transatlantic journey. Scientists have succeeded in measuring the volume of dust and also calculated how much phosphorus, remnant in Saharan sands from part of the desert's past as a lake bed, gets carried across the ocean from one of the planet's most desolate places to one of its most fertile. This transcontinental journey of dust is important because of what is in the dust. For instance, when the wind picks up the dust in the Bodeli Depression in Chad, an ancient lake bed where rock minerals are composed of dead microorganisms, it carries phosphorus as well. This phosphorus is an essential nutrient for plant proteins and growth, and this helps the Amazon rainforest to flourish. This may sound illogical, but nutrients which you can find in commercial fertilizers are in short supply in Amazonian soils. This is because they are locked up in the plants themselves. The only way plants get them is through fallen, decomposing leaves and organic matter. However, some nutrients, including phosphorus, still get washed away by rainfall into streams and rivers, draining from the Amazon basin. Luckily for the forest, the phosphorus that reaches Amazon soils from Saharan dust is about the same amount as that lost from rain and flooding, creating a balance. But how much dust finds its way to the rainforest from the Sahara Desert? To calculate this, scientists used data collected by a LiDAR instrument on NASA's Cloud Aerosol LiDAR and Infrared Pathfinder Satellite Observation, or CALIPSO satellite, within a period of 6 years. The data show that wind and weather pick up on average 182 million tons of dust each year and carry it past the western edge of the Sahara at longitude 15W. You can picture this as the movement of about 689,290 semi-trucks filled with dust. The dust then travels 1,600 miles across the Atlantic Ocean, though some drops to the surface or are flushed from the sky by rain. Near the eastern coast of South America, at longitude 35W, the amount drops to 132 million tons in the air, and 27.7 million tons of the dust, equivalent to 104,908 semi-trucks, fall to the surface over the Amazon basin. Nearly 43 million tons of dust travel further to settle out over the Caribbean Sea, past longitude 75W. Now, how about deadly beauty? A creature so beautiful but so fatal to encounter. Humans are generally attracted to beauty, but the poison dart frog is one beauty that should be given the widest berth. Don't be fooled by the photogenic, multicolored coat they wear, because just 2.5 grams of the poison from the frog's skin can paralyze or even kill an adult human. It is just as well that their colors are bright. You can find them in blazing red, orange, or green, which should help you avoid them easily. Interestingly, scientists have discovered that these frogs do not even produce the poison themselves, but it is due to their diet consisting of highly poisonous ants in the wild. Indigenous cultures, such as the Choco people of Colombia, have used these frogs' poison for centuries to coat the tip of their blow darts before hunting, a tradition that inspired the frog's common name. These poisonous frogs are diurnal, which means they are active during the day. They live under rocks and moss near streams, but can sometimes be seen high up in the surrounding trees. Let's hear what you think of the terrifying discoveries in the Amazon rainforest in the comments section below.